And well, hello there, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the podcast here with the CCA. And we have our third qualifier ahead of us this weekend. Isn't that pretty crazy? We've already had two qualifiers. I don't I don't know where the time went already. I feel like it was just yesterday when we announced the circuit in of itself. Cygnus, what are your thoughts on all of that? Like where we're already standing?
Yeah, definitely. After so much going into this and make sure everything prepared, it's been just so cool seeing the CCA circuit getting up off the ground and honestly going as well as it has been. It's been really exciting so far. And just like you, OmaZen, I'm shocked that we're already on qualifier 3. It's like, where has the time gone with this? It feels like we just started.
No, it really does. And as we're kind of moving along in these qualifiers, a lot more developments are going to occur, as you would expect, right? Like the first qualifier, it's like everyone's getting their feet wet. The second qualifier, people are like, okay, I think we know how to go about this now. We're making our game plans. And I think the third qualifier is where we might see a little bit of a lull. Like maybe some people choose to use this as maybe a break. Some people choose to use this qualifier as an opportunity to um, think about uh, like maybe how they should really grind on the fourth and fifth ones. But this will overall be kind of the line I think most teams will cross where they're like, okay, this is how we're going to push ourselves into a strong placement to go for what will essentially be our capstone in finals leading after the qualifiers. So um, I'm really interested to see what happens as the weeks progress and we get closer to that point. But once again, qualifier number three is tomorrow, being on a Friday this time, which is a bit fun, a little bit of a different format, as as many of you would expect as that goes. But yeah, without further ado, I think I might have gotten us a little bit ahead of ourselves. How are you doing today, Cygnus?
I'm doing well myself. How about you, OmaZen?
No, I'm doing great as well. It's been a bit of a busy week between a lot of different things kind of going on, a lot of the different grinds as you would expect, but uh, overall, really fun stuff still happening here, especially at the CCA, and hope you all are looking forward to it as well. So without further ado, I think we may as well just kind of get rolling along with the podcast and talk about some of our announcements and also what we're going to be talking about today. So, um, we're going to be starting off today with some CCA announcements. Following that, we're going to be doing a Qualifier 3 preview discussion, which will be composed of both a leaderboard discussion, where we'll be recapping some of the developments of the leaderboard following Qualifier number 2, and also maybe some of the uh, interesting elements that have come into play when you look at Qualifier number 1 versus Qualifier number 2. And then after that, we're going to be covering some of our top teams we'll be looking at ahead of qualifier number 3. Some personal favorites, some people or teams that we will think that might surprise you all as we move ahead. But with that all aside, I think it's about time we increase the counter and get started. So to get us kicked off with our CCA announcements, we don't have too many this week, but I think they're all a bit more on the heavier side compared to what maybe we have had the past couple episodes. But CCA Circuit Qualifier 3 signups close at 11:59 p.m. tonight. You heard that right, tonight, and you'll be playing in it tomorrow if you do choose to sign up. So that'll
This is
be
the time.
starting
No
at
more
7 p.m.
procrastinating.
Yeah, no, we're procrastinating. Like we know, like I know when I was still a college student, which I hate that I have to say that, but when
Oh,
I was
same.
still in college, yeah, no, both of us really, we're both
Yeah.
alumni. Um, like Cygnus, I'm sure that you maybe stayed up once or twice, to put it lightly, working on something, right?
Yeah,
A
it's
bit
definitely
longer.
happened, especially around like finals crunch and times like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember working on a final project once, and I was up until like 4 a.m. working on it.
Oof.
It was awful, and that was entirely self-inflicted too. And much like that, it's like you can sign up right now. You can have this podcast episode playing in the background and open up that forum and get your homies together and be like, guys, it's time to sign up. Um, and speaking of that, Cygnus, do you happen to know how many people as of now have started at least to sign up for the next qualifier tomorrow?
Yeah, as of now, it looks like we have 85 teams that are registered on Battle 5 for the tournament. So that's very exciting. Always love seeing high numbers like this.
No, for sure, yeah. And with that in mind, we're hoping that once this episode is kind of reaching its conclusion point, that maybe that number will be a bit higher. Cygnus, do you have a prediction of that number? You think it may be?
We're, I think for the third qualifier in a row, I think we're going to break 100. I'm saying like probably around like 105 or so, I think. I, I think
Okay.
given the nature of this being on a Friday night, I could see it being a bit lower than the other two, but I still think we're seeing more than enough interest in the community. I think we're still going to break the number 100 here, get into triple digits.
I think I'll play devil's advocate, not for the sake of playing devil's advocate, but for the sake of playing devil's advocate. But I think we will break 90 teams for sure. I don't know if we'll break 100 though. I think like especially with qualifier number 1. If I recall correctly, I think we had 99 teams compete day of. Um I think in terms of the teams we'll see sign up at the very least, we'll probably hit the high 90s. So not exactly sure what to fully expect. I always like, of course, seeing triple digits is huge, but if I had to put my money on a number, I would say a sweet 96.
Like the 96 gal in the hit video game Splatoon 3.
Yeah, I I love that weapon a lot, definitely. If I could destroy any weapon, it wouldn't be that one for sure. Definitely would not be that one. But before we get too caught in the muck with our hot takes and opinions and honest thoughts, Cygnus, would you mind recapping some of our other announcements as well?
Yes, of course. So we have our fantasy scores for the second qualifier that are up. We had 19 players entering fantasy this time, myself included, and the winner was J Money 28, who scored half of his 95 points by doubling up and going all in on the VCU Big Fat Sea Cows, who they had a pretty good run in Division 1, ending up as the runner-ups. They did very well. And speaking of Big Fat Sea Cows, Mini SPL of VCU fame tied for 7th place with 76 points, but while using a very unconventional strategy here in fantasy, going on to pick 7 teams that were in Division 1. Will we see this be an effective tactic moving into qualifier 3? If you want to check out how the fantasy bracket's going yourself, a link to see all the scores is available in the circuit info channel in the CCA Discord server. The fantasy form for qualifier 3 will drop shortly after registration closes tonight. Unless Snow falls asleep, which could very well happen.
Yeah, that absolutely could very well happen. But yeah, fantasy is always really fun to see, and especially with the circuit format we've been running, I think it's like created a lot of interesting situations that you didn't necessarily see through the league, and you can also change your uh, teams you think will end up winning out brackets or performing well too. So um, I think that's always a fun thing. So definitely sign up for fantasy if you're interested in um, some not gambling, you know. But yeah, always a fun thing to see the results of. But yeah, that's going to do it for our announcements this week. And let's go ahead and take a look at qualifier number 3, particularly the leaderboard here. So I'm going to go ahead, get a screen ready, and we'll take a peek at all of that here together. So let me go ahead and get this loaded up. All right. So I'm going to transition us over here. Boop. Okay, and there you go. Here is a look at the leaderboard for the CCA circuit. This is a public document that you all are more than free to view as a part of just keeping track of how your team is doing, how other teams are doing, maybe keeping in mind how many more points you might need to earn in order to qualify or be on track for qualifying for the circuit finals, as you can see with our fancy cutoff here. But um, without further ado, um, I think it's about time we start covering some of these divisions, right, Cygnus? So, what are some teams that kind of did well in Division 4 this past week? Or last circuit, more so.
Yep. Well, right off the bat, one team that jumps out in Division 4 is SSU Esports, who you see there in the number 2 slot in Division 4 with nice even 200 points. This is SSU Esports coming from Sonoma State University. I am so sorry if I did not pronounce that correctly, by the way. Yeah, Qualifier 2 was this team's CCA debut, and it went amazingly well for them. They went 4-0 in the Swiss stages, only dropping 2 games coming against Terminal Illinois and MTSU Blue, and this allowed them to gain 100 points, which is an almost perfect record in Swiss. Then during Top Cut, SSU had a tough run getting to the finals, where they had to go to a decisive game 3 against both Push and High Tide troops. but then they managed to persevere through, and in the finals, they were ultimately able to triumph over Octos and Squids United White with a 3-1 4-game win, and took first place in the qualifier, which is what made it, even though it's their debut, they're already this high up at number 2. Extremely impressive run there from SSU. Next up, also in Division 4, I also want to look at XX Shadow Warriors XX, very throwbacky internet style name I like to see coming from VCU.
Yeah, if you don't
This team,
mind, like,
yeah,
just oh, I really gotta highlight how fun that name is. Like, when they popped up in Qualifier 1, I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally Xbox 360, Xbox Live
yeah,
all over again. So, um, a really fun new crew out of VCU, I believe. So, yeah, go ahead and keep at it, Cygnus, and let's see what they had to offer this past qualifier.
yeah. VCU definitely knows how to have fun with their team names. I'll give them that.
Oh no, for sure. I love all their team
Yeah,
names.
yeah, and getting back to talking about the Shadow Warriors, this is a team they've been doing pretty well consistently in Division 4, in at the 8th seed with 170 points. This team has gotten top 8 in both qualifiers so far. The second qualifier, they're a bit up and down. They went 2-2, but in both of the sets they lost. They took it to a game 3, which allowed them to gain 60 points from Swiss. And then in Top Cut, the first round actually was a pretty fun matchup, having them go against their sister team from VCU in the form of VCU's Spirality. And it was a very exciting set, going to game 3, where the Shadow Warriors were able to pull through and win the set. But unfortunately, their run did get stopped in the next round, as they lost 2-0 to Terminal Illinois. But hey, if the Shadow Warriors keep staying consistent and keep getting top 8, there's definitely a chance they'll make it to circuit finals, which should be very exciting.
Yeah, they absolutely, I think, are on track to make circuit finals. Part of the benefit of this jump between qualifier 1, 2, and soon to be 3 as well is a lot of teams are starting to kind of find where spot they kind of will kind of succeed in the most. Um, Another team that comes to mind is Terminal Illinois, who started off in Division 3 in Qualifier 1. However, in Qualifier number 2, they did swap over to Division 4. However, as you can see here on this leaderboard, they were able to get an overall seed number 3 spot here on the leaderboard. So, um, like, these different divisions kind of offer the opportunities for teams to succeed within a group that they compete kind of the best against. You have teams like Big Fat Sea Cows who play in a lot of typically mid-level tournaments outside of the CCA as well. And as you'd expect, they typically are one of the higher performers, partly because of that, and in terms of just that kind of dominating power. But there are other teams who are, sometimes one could consider a bit lower level who perform in some a bit better in some of these lower divisions. So kind of just all depends on, I guess, kind of that level of experience and just like some of that synergy as well. But yeah, really exciting stuff to see in Division 4. Cygnus, do you mind walking us through some of the notable insights from Division 3 as well?
Yeah, definitely. And starting off, I'd like to look at a Division 3 team that's not necessarily in a circuit final spot yet, but they're definitely close, and that is Coyotes Blue from California State University, San Bernardino. This coming in at 14th, so just a couple spots off and off from being in a spot where they can advance, and with 225 points. Coyotes Blue, in between the first two qualifiers, they did move up from Division 2 into Div 3. So this was the Coyotes Blue time to see what Division 3 is all about. And for this Swiss one, they did go with a record of 1-3. But despite that, they were able to take UAH Blue and USF Splatoon Gold to a Game 3, winning 4 games total and earning 60 points from that. They also gained another 15 points for placing 17 plus, which got them up to a total of 75 points from qualifier number 2, which, adding to their success in Division 4 in qualifier 1, gets them right around that borderline spot of making Division 3 circuit finals. So I think this point in time pretty much could be a very pivotal spot for this group. And while as of now, I don't believe Coyotes Blue have signed up for qualifier 3 yet, as of when I'm saying this, at least. I think this team has what it takes to earn themselves a position in circuit finals. I think they can either place top 12 in Division 3 or definitely grab one of those wildcard spots.
Yeah, for sure, and that's part of the reason why I think those wildcard spots exist too. Um, it kind of, adds that additional layer of intrigue and fun to just the event as a whole. Like if you were the top of your group and you arguably do deserve that first seed or second seed, right? But if you were kind of just getting a little close, just on the edge, like why not also be a part of the fun too, right? So um, hoping to see some like fun new sets out of them soon as well. So completely agreed there on Coyotes Blue from the CSU San Bernardino.
Yeah, definitely. And also another team that's currently on the outside looking in but could grab one of these wild cards is Nautical Port from Northern Arizona University. Also, I like the way they managed to work the NAU acronym into the name as well. Very nice. And this was this team's debut into the circuit since they didn't play in the first one, and they had a good Swiss run, going 3-1 with wins over Ferris State, Splatoon, RIT Black Sea Dragons, and UAH Blue. They won a total of 7 games during Swiss, earning them 105 points. But then heading into Top Cut, unfortunately, they drew a tough matchup and lost round 1 against A-State Black. But they still went out with a fight, managing to take A-State to a Game 3. And for placing top 16 in Div 3, they gained an additional 30 points, which led them to a total of 135 points, all in their first circuit qualifier, which is not a bad start at all for them, as this team could definitely gain more points in the future and maybe have a chance of getting into circuit finals.
Yeah, agreed. And as you can kind of see here with the circuit points and some of these differences here, like a lot of teams with, I guess, maybe 200 points or more typically did play in both um, circuit qualifiers, generally speaking, at least. But a lot of these teams that are just now getting started, like very well can just move up more and also get some more points on the board. So just because you start a little bit late doesn't mean you're necessarily out of the race. So Nautical Port definitely looking for what you guys do in the future too.
Yeah, for sure. It's a sprint, not a race here. There's a reason why we have 5 different qualifiers before finals, giving a lot of teams a chance to be able to show up, improve their stuff. And speaking of teams showing up, let's take a look at the Yukon Siberian Squids from University of Connecticut, because qualifier 2 was Yukon Time to Shine. This team had an amazing run in the second qualifier, winning it all and taking first place in Division 3. Their Swiss run was a 3 and the Swiss run had a 3-1 record, only losing to RIT White Prawns. They won 9 games to give them 135 points just from Swiss alone. And for Top Cut, they were able to make it to the semifinals in a breeze, and then their semifinals matchup was a rematch against the one team they lost to in Switch, RIT White Prawns. But this time, they were able to come out victorious in Game 3 and made it into the finals, which were definitely in no way easy to them, as they were going against a CCA veteran team in Bobblehat Gang. But UConn had a nice start, getting a quick 2-0 lead. But Bobblehat Gang didn't back down and managed to tie it up to threaten the reverse sweep. But the Siberian Squids persevered, and they won Game 5 to take first place, and gaining an additional 135 points for winning, rocketing them all the way up to 450 points total and second place in Division 3 on this leaderboard.
Yeah, and congrats to them for sure. There's also a little bit of an interesting note and thing I think would be fair to point out here as well on our Division 3 leaderboard. Many of you probably notice that Crab and Go is seed number 1, but Crab and Go played in Division 2. That doesn't make sense, at least on the surface, if you didn't read the rule set, right? um, but yeah, that's just kind of the nature of how the circuit's being ran right now. Crab and Go being much more of a newer face in terms of the squad as a whole, and some of the experience a handful of the players had kind of landed them a bit more in Division 4 initially. Got bumped up to Division 2 based on their performance in there, and points wise, and also just due to the nature of how we seed has landed them in Division 3 for now in terms of leaderboard placements. But considering the fact that they also pulled off a insane win against EAUCD Splatoon White, which we might be talking about a little bit more later, um, don't count on them necessarily staying in that placement still for now.
Yeah, Crab and Go is definitely having one of the most unique runs we've seen in the CCA, and they're definitely a team we're going to be talking more about later.
Absolutely,
For sure, yeah.
absolutely. Um, but I think we just about hit kind of the halfway point on this leaderboard discussion, so I think it's about time we talk about Division 2 here off to our left. So we did want to highlight a few teams and some interesting scenarios that have taken place in this division. Division 2, if you ask me, I think I had a similar take last preview discussion, but um, it's probably been the most like weirdly chaotic division, and I mean that in like a very positive way, where it just like a bunch of shenanigans are afoot. It's like this is um like I guess skill wise, like this is the top cut right before top cut, obviously, right? Like a lot of like traditional CCA League Division 2 and 3 teams are here, or teams that would be roughly seated there. And what's kind of happened is it's like just a giant, like, I don't know, everyone's really evenly matched with each other. I think that's how I want to phrase it. So you're seeing a lot of old faces like the Gumi, Splatoon White, California State University, Long Beach Black, like really duking it out and just coming so neck and neck with each other. Like, obviously, points wise, there are some teams that are significantly further along than the others, but relatively speaking, everyone's pretty neck and neck here. So, um, kind of wanting to highlight maybe a notable situation that's arisen partly because of that is the WPI Grisco Workers Union Nouveau, who's probably had the most unfortunate circumstance happen to them overall this past season. And Corona, if you're watching, I mean that in the best way possible. Again, um,
Sorry,
it's just
Krona.
sorry, Corona. It's so interesting though, partly too. But notably in Qualifier 1, they were able to win 8 games overall, yielding themselves a total of roughly 180 points once everything was counted up and taken into consideration in our leaderboard. However, due to an really unfortunate and kind of awful circumstance, they found themselves just outside of clinching final cutoffs for the top cut due to a less than 0.8 percentage overall win differential in the Swiss stage, which denied them, again, being able to make it up to top cut. And that, when you don't get to play top cut, you get fewer points. So even if you had a solid run in Swiss and you just got screwed over by some sort of tiebreaker, there's not really too much more you can do about it and just try to hopefully make the most out of the upcoming qualifiers. And somewhat unfortunately for WPI Grisco Workers Union Nouveau, they had a somewhat similar situation happen again in qualifier number 2, um, where they had a solid performance overall, winning 6 total games. However, much like last time, they found themselves kind of just barely getting cut out of the top cut bracket by a overall notably larger 10.5% overall win percentage differential. Um, but I would like to highlight that this is a team that's performed amazingly well in the past seasons of the CCA League, both in Division 2 and 3 and so forth, even winning divisions in the past in the CCA League around this general skill level that we see from Division 2 of the CCA Circuit this past few months. So even though they are running a new team, there are some old faces, there are some new faces on this general squad. I don't think they're out of the count just yet. As you can see here on our circuit leaderboard, um, they currently have a 3-way tie with Bash and
Yeah.
UTK feeders for 320 points. So all it's going to take is just, finally coming through and making it in the top cut, getting some more points on leaderboards, hopefully causing some disruptions, and I think they will be a really strong team, hopefully, come the circuit capstone and finals there. But yeah, just want to shout you all out. I'm a believer still. And
Yeah, it
yeah,
definitely is very ironic and unfortunate how WPI missed out on top cut in both qualifiers by tiebreakers, and as of now, they're currently 13th instead of 12th by a tiebreaker once again. Just rough luck with those tiebreakers this circuit season so far. But they're right on the precipice. A big swing in the second half of the circuit season could definitely turn things around.
agreed. And looking at another team that's kind of among this group I just highlighted here, we also have Bash, who I wanted to shout out. So Bash has been placed in Division 2 for both qualifiers so far. And first qualifier, they kind of struggled a little bit, out of complete respect for them. But even though they only won about 4 games in that first qualifier, in qualifier number 2, they were able to win a whopping 9. And as a Purdue alumni and someone who tries to still keep like in touch and following some of the developments of the newer Purdue teams and older Purdue teams, with Bash being around since I believe season 2 of the CCA League. So they're actually a relatively old face, everything considered, but um, they've really proven themselves as a strong team. They've been grinding a lot in the off season. They've been playing in tournaments very frequently, such as FTIU, LSL, and a few others, and they have been getting results from them. They've been getting either wins or notable placements out of them, and I think that reflects a lot in their performance. So I'm really interested to see how far they go. They definitely have a strong start here at our overall 12th spot on the leaderboard. However, they are still caught in that funny three-way tie, just barely beating out Grisco for that clinch spot. So yeah, I'm interested to see what they're able to pull off as the qualifiers continue. And then last but not least, I also wanted to shout out That's Dangerous from UTD. That's Dangerous has an overall seed of number 3 on our leaderboard here with 440 points. Pretty respectable amount. Um, and like a lot of other Texas teams, they're definitely one that you shouldn't necessarily uh, like, you know, like underestimate. So overall, they were able to get a really interesting placement here in Division 2, performing very well in our past qualifier. Taking a look at our brackets, like they were able to go really far, hitting a um, solid placement. But I'm interested to see where they go once we hit qualifier number 3 and 4. And yeah, I hope they also live up to their name, you know? You always got to shout out some of the funny team names. Like we have some really
Oh,
fun
for
new
sure.
names that pop up here or there in the CCA. So shout outs to you all. And gonna wrap up our leaderboard discussion here. This for the past CCA qualifiers, looking ahead at qualifier number 3 with Division 1. And first off, why don't we talk about PSU Blue? PSU Blue, classic powerhouse team of the CCA, both winning past CCA league divisions and also being a top contender in many of them. And that is still the case here with the CCA circuit, where they were the runner-ups in qualifier number 1 before having a tougher time overall in qualifier number 2, going 2-2 in Swiss before having to bow out in a 2-0 loss in Top Cut round 1 to EAUCD's Banana Split, who had their first appearance in the CCA circuit in qualifier number 2. And this long-time CCA powerhouse will probably still be looking for a bounce back performance qualifier number 3. Like reminder, they were playing in that finals match against Arcaley qualifier number 1. So um, even though they had that hiccup qualifier number 2, they're still in a really strong spot here on our leaderboard with 700 points total. So I'm interested to see what they're able to pull off as we move ahead to the weeks ahead. And then Towson Tigerfish is another team that I think we should talk about, taking up our tail end here at spot number 11 with 380 points total. And they were able to finish in 4th place of Division 2 back in qualifier number 1, placing them in a pretty solid, strong spot. And they were able to enter the fray for the first time in Division 1, where they did struggle a bit going 1-3 in Swiss. However, despite those struggles, Towson managed to garner enough points to currently be in the last spot here in our Division 1 circuit cutoff. And I think a lot of us here are starting to question, can they manage to hang around Division 1 going forward to keep that spot, or will another like kind of Division 1, Division 2 sort of team like Splatscat Black catch up to them? And I mean, as you can see right below them, Splatscad Black at 375. Also Husky Splatfield Knights Violet at 375. Only 5 points away from Towson Tigerfish, so they're going to have to be watching out for themselves here. Cygnus, any additional thoughts on that little dilemma?
It, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like a full-on battle there in Division 3. I mean Division 1.
Yes, yeah.
Can't talk today.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Yeah, it's to Tobel here. I mean, so many teams are so close. I mean, even down in 14th, since they didn't play in qualifiers too, you have Red Embers who came third place in qualifier 1 with 350 points. They didn't play in qualifier 2, which is why they're down there. But that's a really strong team. A really strong team that I think we can expect to jump up in the standings. And in the end, there's not enough spots for everyone. I mean, Division One is they're Division One. They're full of just so many really strong teams, and it's also the division where you get the most points just for playing in there. So I feel like it's kind of hard to count anyone out just yet, really. Although like you were saying near the start of the podcast, OmaZen,
Yeah,
this pretty much with qualifier 3 pretty much being the midway point. This is where I think tomorrow night's pretty much going to be where we see lines starting to be drawn here as teams pretty much just get more solidified into the divisions. We'll pass the halfway point of the circuit, seeing where placements are. I think this is where we're going to see a lot more of the picture like come into focus, especially as you have some of the teams that only participated in one qualifier start playing in multiple as well.
completely agree there. I would like to highlight, like, your comment about Red Embers made me curious. Like, is Red Embers gonna be tentatively at least playing in qualifier number 3? And so far, I don't know if they are. I'm not necessarily seeing them anywhere here. So, poke poke, nudge nudge, to Corona Beer, or any of you over there. If you want to get up on this leaderboard a bit more, maybe you shine up. Oh no. But yeah, without getting too far sidetracked, I think we should also comment on probably the most outstanding performance we saw in qualifying number 2 with Division 1 being UCF Knights. Um, a lot of their run was able to be streamed as well, especially towards the end where we had them, I believe, in semifinals and the finals. And they really wowed a lot of people with a kind of a generally new roster overall. They were formerly known as the Night Sharks, probably a much more familiar name for a lot of you all. And this is a long-standing CCA Division 1 team that was able to rebound really nicely from a Top Cut Round 1 exit in qualifier number 1 by winning it all here in qualifier number 2. They capped off very strong wins over longtime rivals such as UCSD Esports Gold and VCU Big Fat Sea Cows. And we saw those sets played on stream, and they were really dominated. Like, sometimes it got a little bit iffy, like, oh, this might go either way when we were watching on stream, but when everything was said and done, it was very defiantly, like, without question, in the name of UCF Knights when it came to those leads. So I'm interested to see what they continue to do moving forward. I think if I were to choose a few teams that will be the number 1 teams here in Division 1 for the CCA circuit moving ahead into these upcoming couple circuits, I'm going to be looking at UCF Knights, PSU Blue, Arcaley. I know those are the top 3, but those, those are like these powerhouse teams we've established so far. But I'm also kind of interested to see what some newer faces do, at least relative to our Division 1 here, like Splatscad Black and also Banana Split. So, hoping to see them all coming in upcoming circuits. And that mostly wraps up our leaderboard conversation. Cygnus, I do want to offer, uh, just if you have any additional comments to kind of talk about here by chance.
Yeah, I mean, just so many of the big name teams in Division One we've seen doing so well. Well, it's really cool to see. I also wanted to highlight number 4 in Division One, Drexel Dragons. Splatoon, who in past seasons of CCA may not have had quite as much success at the Division 1 level, at least, but they've been putting up a really strong showing in the circuit so far, coming top 8 Division 1 in both qualifiers, which is why they're all the way up there at 600 points. I think they're kind of a sleeper team in Div 1 that'll be really interesting. See how they do. They played. I remember in Qualifier 2 seeing on stream they played Banana Split really close as well, which is a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely don't disagree with that. Um, I mean, talking about other top Division One teams, Old Bay Brigade, I'm interested to see what they continue to pull off. They're consistently still kind of staying at the top, but I think we could continue to see a stronger performance from them as well. And I mean, I keep talking about Splatlanders, and I think I'll keep talking about Splatlanders. They caused so much chaos in Division Two and Season 5 of the CCA League, and I think that still stayed like relatively true. Um, they have had a few of their runs cut maybe a little bit shorter than they necessarily would have liked to have them, but a lot of said runs were cut short by these like very strong top teams like UCSD, Sports Gold, who um, notably I don't see them here towards the top. Where did they go? They're all the way down here, number 15. Oh, a little
Yeah, let
awkward
me
how
see.
that
Did they
works.
play Qualifier 1? I know
I
they
don't
did
think
in
they did.
second one.
No, they were in qualifier number 2, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's probably why then. Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of similar cases like Red Umber's but reversed, you know. And a lot of this will kind of inherently start to shake itself out as the circuit continues and teams start to take kind of breaks here and there as well. But yeah, any kind of conclusion there, Cygnus?
Yeah, I'm just once again really excited to. I just feel excited to see qualifier number 3. Seeing what shakeups are going to happen coming up. Seeing teams who might have only played in one of the first 2 qualifiers going in and playing more, and just seeing more consistent results from these teams that have been battling out here in the CCA circuit. It's a really exciting time, especially with the circuit being a brand new format that I think has been just so much fun so far.
For sure. And that kind of wraps up our leaderboard discussion here, kind of analyzing maybe some of the finer details of what's happened the past week or so. And I think it's about time we also talk about maybe some of our own personal favorite teams as well, and get a little bit into that, that honesty take portion of today's podcast. Cygnus, do you mind walking us through what, I don't know, just a little bit of an introduction?
Yes, so with qualifier 3 being tomorrow and about 85 teams being registered as of this point, we kind of wanted to mix it up a bit with how we're talking about what teams we're anticipating here. So both OmaZen and myself are going to be bringing in 3 teams that we wanted to talk about looking ahead to qualifier 3 that we just think are are really interesting teams to follow and pay attention to. And starting it off, we talked about them a little bit earlier with their interesting spot at the top of Division 3, but I really want to talk about Crab and Go because this has been one of the most unpredictable and fun teams in the qualifier so far. As you said earlier, OmaZen, they for qualifier number 1, they were in Division 4 and they just took everything by storm, winning the entire thing and making the operations staff pretty much realize, yeah, putting them here in Div 4, that was a mistake. So as a result, this team didn't just move up a division. They moved up 2 whole divisions into Division 2. And not only did they do that, but they had a successful run, which ended up with them winning Division 2 entirely as well, winning 2 different divisions with a gap in between those 2. It's just an incredibly bizarre and fun run that we've seen, and I'm gonna be really excited to see where is this team gonna pop up next? How are they gonna do wherever they pop up? Can they even win Division 1 as well at this point? I don't know, but I just know I'm gonna have a lot of fun just following this team wherever they go for the rest of the circuit.
Yeah, fair enough there. Grab and Go, definitely, I think, a fan favorite for a lot of people. Definitely a team that us as staff has been the most intrigued by overall, and really
Yeah,
happy we could also interview them last week too to kind of get some more insight into what's been going on over there in Houston and hearing more about just their scene as well. So yeah, Crab and Go, definitely keep an eye out for what they're going to be doing, and um, ahead of qualifier number 3 and 4. Definitely anticipate a potential Division 1 appearance for sure.
yeah. Yeah, also, I next wanted to talk about Bobblehat Gang over in Division 3, who they had a pretty decent showing in Qualifier 1. They finished top 16, had a round 1 exit in Top Cut, but then come Qualifier 2, this team showed remarkable improvement, going on a run all the way up to all the way up to second place in the division, only losing a very close set to Yukon Siberian Squids, where Bobble Hacking was almost able to pull off the reverse sweep. So this impressive qualifier 2 performance is what got them up to 5th place on the leaderboard, and I just always love seeing teams showing steady improvement like that. And can we see Bobblehat Gang win a Division 3 title this time around, I think, is the question asked here. Or will they even possibly move up into Division 2? Even if not this qualifier, maybe we could see that in like qualifier 4 or 5. I wouldn't be surprised necessarily.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take to have, like qualifier 4 and 5. If we keep seeing Bobblehat, show up to these different circuits, I
Yeah.
think they, realistically speaking, will be popping into Division 2, seeing what they can pull off there. And worst comes to worst, maybe they do get bumped down to Division 3 again, depending on what plays out. But um, you know, classic CCA crew. Interested to see what they're able to pull off as well. And Cygnus, I think you do have one more team to kind of highlight here, and who would that be?
Yes, I also wanted to look at Coyotes Black from California State University San Bernardino. They've been playing in Division 2 so far, and they've been and Coyotes Black is a team that they had a disappointing qualifier one missing out on cut, but then they got back together. They went right back into qualifier 2, and they were able to finish top 8 there. They had a much better, more impressive run, which is what got them into 8th on the leaderboard with 360 points. They are currently 40 points above that three-way tie in the middle of Division 2. So if the circuit were to end now, they would be in circuit finals despite their disappointing qualifier one. I think this is a team, they've been pretty consistently improving throughout the CCA, and there's definitely a team I'm going to have my eye on watching here in Division 2 as we continue with more of the circuit, to see if we could see more of that improvement, and and hopefully they can stay in circuit finals range there.
Yeah, absolutely. And just all these different teams, in their respective divisions, it's really fascinating to see how they ultimately play out and how they're able to take advantage of maybe these different scenarios they find themselves in, both in the Swiss bracket, in some cases also the top cut bracket. And seeing those different dynamics at play, especially with the seeding and how this will all lead into, just the leaderboard, how many points you're obtaining, I think really provides an interesting kind of perspective into it all as well. So, without further ado, I think I may also highlight a few of my teams I'll be looking at ahead of qualifier number 3. One of them
Yours.
being EA UCD Splatoon White. Um, as I'd like to highlight, they had probably one of the most impactful runs in Division 2, only barely coming second in the division's grand finals in a 2-3 set against Crab and Go. And that's not really the only reason why I think they'll go places here. Taking a look at our bracket, they also had very strong sets against teams like Golden Barracudas, where they went 2-0. Get teams like Bad to the Barnacle, also going 2-0. Reef Runners, a classic CCA team, going 2-0 against them. And they really were able to cause a storm. And like, if there is a team like ignoring just the absolute powerhouse that Crab and Go has proven themselves to be after that past qualifier number 2, this is like, in my opinion, the definitive Division 2 team at the top of the top. And I think moving ahead, we'll probably see them be able to make some noise in stuff like Division 1 and so forth. So I'm interested to see what they're able to pull off. I'm keeping my eyes on them. I know that EAUCD is in a really interesting spot, I think, if I recall correctly, to have 2 teams in Division 1, a
Yeah, they
rarity.
possibly could. Yeah.
Yeah, so assuming that both teams do sign up and that there's no other shenanigans perhaps afoot, but um, yeah, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't think a team or a university more so has ever had 2 teams in the top division before. Do you happen to know, Cygnus?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
It was something we were
I feel
discussing
like,
internally a little
yeah,
bit, and I think there may have been one other instance of it happening. I'm not sure what it was off the top of my head, admittedly, either, but
yeah. Let me
it's
see.
definitely a rarity regardless. So props to the EAUCD gang for being able to pull off such a feat, really.
Yeah. Oh wait, actually, I'm seeing there is a another team that right now actually has both teams in Division One,
Oh, wow.
and that is UC Berkeley having both California
Mm,
Rollers and Egg Spaghetti.
that's right. Yeah, I believe that's what it was. Um, yeah, so California gamers going crazy, I guess, right now. Much like our Texas and California gamers in general going crazy. We've seen some interesting
Yeah.
dynamics in both situations, um, with like UTD and U and University of Houston as well. But um, yeah, going ahead and talking about some other teams, I also wanted to take a step back and talk about Division 4, particularly Terminal Illinois, who started out in Division 3 in qualifier number 1, having an overall, unfortunately a little bit of a rough run, but they got bumped down to Division 4 and they were able to have a really solid performance overall. Um, Taking a look at our bracket here, for Division 4, sorry, I'm loading it up here just so I can get some of these details a bit more
Yeah.
crisp. But yeah, they had some solid performances against Galactic Tide, VCU's Shadow Warriors. They were able to, unfortunately, barely lose out on a set against OSU's The Ohio State University's um, JV team. And despite that, they were able to ultimately land a 4th place position after having an unfortunate loss against the High Tide Terps. And um, this being a new team that we haven't seen previously before in the CCA, I think that they're definitely finding their footing as the season progresses, and they are an example of a team that really can grow and make a name for themselves and get that, that baseline properly, grounded, I think. So I'm going to be interested to see what they have in store. And naturally, also, I love the name Terminal Illinois. Um, Gotta love the Illinois jokes here and there
Yep.
for sure. But um, yeah, and capping off my top teams, I also have to talk about the UCF Knights, especially after last qualifier. They had, in my opinion, one of the most mind-blowing runs, just with how dominant they were in each match. And come qualifier number 3, I think they will probably have just another strong run ahead of themselves, and in the qualifiers ahead as well, outside of just number 3. So taking a look again at our bracket to just get our facts straight. Um, UCF Knights was able to take games off of teams like Surging Seas, California Rollers, UCSD Esports Gold in a close 2-1 set, and ultimately uh, beating out the VCU Big Fat Sea Cows, who had to miss qualifier number one and had their first appearance at qualifier number two. Who, like, relatively speaking, like, these were two powerhouse teams that were on opposite ends of the bracket. Naturally, that is how brackets work, but um, they never really had the opportunity to shut each other down earlier, and it really came down to the wire of like who would be the top team, as this was seed number one and seed number two for the specific top cut sets. So I would argue that they probably had one of the most exciting matches overall and the most closest matches. Like, I was on the edge of my seat watching personally that grand
Oh
finals.
yeah, same here. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
like,
was just one of the most exciting sets of Splatoon I've seen in a long time, I feel.
for sure. And just like, I keep talking about it, but the pressure, like for instance, their decapitator player was able to put on the other team, and how they were able to come together as this unified force, shut down the Big Fat Sea Cows, who previously known also as Ink Black. Like, they have been like kind of one of the few like definitive mid-level CCA teams, and seeing that kind of energy, I think, is always exciting, especially when you have a generally new group of players who are kind of taking up this old mantle that was left behind for them. So I'm interested to see what they pull off. Um, they'll probably be the team in Division One I'm going to continue to keep my eye on ahead. But yeah, that's our top teams. Cygnus, if you were to pick a favorite team of your three, that you're definitely vouching for, which one would it be?
I'm fully on the grab and go train.
Grab and go
I'm
train.
all in on this team. I'm excited to see wherever they go next, and any game of theirs that happens to be on stream, you know it, I will be watching that.
For
How about you,
sure.
OmaZen?
I think I'm going to be on that
Which
Terminal
team did you want to shout
Illinois.
out the most?
I'm on that Terminal Mental Illinois train. Yeah, I still love the name. The name is so good.
Yeah,
Like, if you, I, I have the type of brain when it comes to a lot of stuff where it's like, if you have a funny name, like, you immediately caught my attention. Like, you got good taste if you're doing stuff like that. Um, so love the name.
that was
Hope to
why I
see you
was in
guys
love with
succeed.
the study abroad event.
Wait, really? Yeah.
I just loved in that seeing all the just completely zany names the community came up with there.
Yeah, no, that especially that DRF name. Like, I once again,
Yeah.
that did happen. I can vouch for that. Like, does if no one in this world is a denier, then I'm not in this world. I think I said that right. Sorry, my brain is not working right now. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up this episode, I think, for the most part today. Um, partly because qualifier number three is tomorrow, and me and Cygnus here, we have to make sure in our own like little respective corners that qualifier number three is running smoothly, hopefully. So um, with that all in mind, we want to once again shout out that signups close at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So as of this time right now, we're at about 9:10 Eastern time. You got just under 3 hours left to still sign up. So Cygnus, real quick, could you pull up our team count? Have any new teams signed up in the past maybe a little over an hour?
Yeah, I'm checking right now, going on Battlefy, and 3 more teams have joined. We are up to 88 now.
88. Let's try to get that to my 96 number.
Yeah,
um,
I prefer to be proven right. Let's break 100.
break
I believe
100.
in you guys.
Yeah, triple digits.
Let's end the procrastination here and now. Now's the time. Sign up.
But yeah, it's definitely exciting to see what will continue to develop as we move forward. And Yeah, um, I think it's about time we kind of wrap up everything. Don't you think, Cygnus?
Yeah, definitely. This has been there's been a lot of fun tonight, Omazen. I feel it was just a lot of fun being able to talk about how the leaderboard's shaking up, getting a nice mid-season check in here as we're heading into what's essentially the halfway point of the CCA circuit. And I know there are a lot of exciting matches yet to be played, and I just had a lot of fun talking about it.
No, for sure. And that excitement will only continue to increase as we move forward. But um, closing off our episode today, Cygnus, where can all the good gamers and people here find you?
Yep, you you can find me on Twitter at CygnusX1018, which is also my Discord tag. You can find me you can find me in the CCA Discord server and a bunch of the other Splatoon related servers as well. How about you, Amazen? Where can the people find you?
So you all can find me online, both on Twitter and Blue Sky at OmaZen_monkey. I think on Blue Sky. And I love Blue Sky, by the way. Blue Sky's awesome. I think if you
Yeah, I
don't
gotta
aren't
get
on
on it
Blue,
soon.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm definitely wanting to get on it soon. Yeah.
yeah, no, but like everyone, if you're not on Blue Sky, please join Blue Sky. Um, I like yapping there about absolute nonsense and just saying things. So you should you should join me and everyone else in that. But um, you can find me there at OmaZen and then also Twitch at OmaZen. So uh, and of course, also the CCA with projects here like the podcast and other works as well. So that basically wraps up episode 27 for today and our preview of qualifier number 3. Looking forward to and hopefully eventful night tomorrow and what qualifier number 4 and 5 will have in store for us in the future. It's great having you all here tonight, and we will go ahead and close off. See you all later.
So long.